now. All right, so now we're recording. Hello, Webb families. Thanks for tuning in to another Webb chat that we have for parent orientation. Today, I'm joined by two current parents, Linda Metz, who is a VWS Day student parent, and the Graffs from Chicago, who are a WSC boarding parent. So today we are going to talk about parent to parent and kind of have them highlight some challenges and successes and stories from the spring of 2020. So again, my name is Jennifer Liu. I graduated from Webb in 2005, and I work as the Director of Parent Relations and Special Events. So Linda, now I'm going to hand it over to you so that you can introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what your daughter is involved in at Webb.
Okay, thank you, Jen. My name's Linda Metz, and I have a daughter that's a junior or rising junior. She'll be starting next couple weeks now as a junior at Webb. And in fact, tonight she's starting the leadership. They have a leadership conference going on the next 3 days. She's part of the honor cabinet at Webb. She's also an admissions ambassador at Webb, and she's pretty involved in the athletics. She's a soccer player. She's played varsity soccer the last couple of years, as well as she ran varsity cross country last year. So she's been pretty involved the last couple of years.
Great, thank you, Linda. And now I'm going to hand it over to the Graff so that they can introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about Peter.
Hey, thanks, Jennifer. Hi, my name's John Graff, and this is my wife, Alma Marie. We're coming in from the northwest suburbs of Chicago. We have a son, Peter, who is a rising senior at Webb. He's been involved heavily in the paleontology program, in the Peccary Club. He's also a varsity wrestler. He's wrestled the last couple of years and really enjoyed that as well, and enjoys lots of other activities and academics at the school as well. So, and you know, Peter found out about Webb and really got interested in the natural sciences and the paleo program, and that led into lots of other things that he discovered at Webb in the humanities and other things that he really enjoys about the school.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, so let's kind of dive into our first question. So I kind of want us to take, a few months back and kind of look at spring 2020. So both of you, your families and your students were there when Webb made the decision to shut down. And I think we all had to overcome a set of challenges. So Linda, could you kind of maybe share from your perspective and for your family kind of one challenge that you guys had to work through?
I think, I did actually sit down with Caroline, with my daughter, and we talked about it. We talked about what was tough, the original transition from going to school every day to being online. And the funny part was, I do remember that specific day when we picked them up from school, and she was laughing because that first day, of course they were high-fiving each other that they got to go home early from school. And by the time I got there to pick her up, they were all crying because they realized they weren't going to be on campus, at least at that point, they didn't know how long. So I think that actually really resonates with me because I realized that she had found her home at Webb when I picked her up that day. And it had only been a matter of a couple of hours by the time I was able to get there to get her, that she was, so involved with the school and really was just so passionate about it that she was actually crying to, leave her friends and leave the school and leave all that. But a couple of the things that we found, first of all, as I'll talk about the challenge, was that just that transition for her to go from every day going to school, with her friends and her teachers to online. I don't think she realized that it was going to be as difficult as it really was to be sitting at home every day, not, interacting with her teachers in person and her friends. I think I could see that she kind of slumped it a little bit into almost like a depression. Obviously it's hard for them to be home every day, but I think as time went on, and I gotta say with Webb, they didn't miss a beat. I felt like they transitioned as well as they could to get these kids online, keeping up with their academics that they had left off when they went to school every day. So I think that that transition went really well. And they did knock down a few of the hours, or they weren't having to sit online as many hours as they were in the beginning, because they just realized that it was hard for the students to be online that long, which I think helped our kids to transition a little easier, because it wasn't so much of the online learning, and trying to battle the headaches and all that stuff that came with it. So I think as Webb worked out the kinks of it all, it really did get better. And, the kids were able to interact and engage on, even though it was online. I could see her kind of come out of that, a little bit of that depression, that she originally had. One challenge I really did want to bring out for the incoming parents, that I was a learning lesson for me as a parent, having a student online, was what was hard was she was here kind of in our family room area, because I have 4 children and they were all online. And I could hear her online. So I would kind of butt in sometimes, like, hey, how come you didn't know the answer to that Spanish question, And it was hard because I needed to back off and let her be a high school student. And I think that was very challenging for me as a parent, to realize that that would not be how it would be if she was going to school every day. So I think really what was really important for us, what we're going to do for the fall, and we've already done it, is we've transitioned all of the bedrooms for my children, so that they have their own space. I've really never liked them just being in their rooms by themselves all the time, but I do think it's really important that they have their own space, in order to avoid those kind of that temptation to listen in and not that it's bad, because I was able to listen to, the teachers were amazing and stuff, but I just think I needed to give her space so she could still have as normal of a high school experience as she could. So I think that was a big challenge for us in the beginning.
Okay, great, Linda. Thank you so much for being honest and kind of sharing kind of your experience. So now, again, throwing it back to the graphs, again, Peter was a boarder, right? And I remember kind of us circulating list of like, boarders need to move off campus. And I believe John flew in that weekend to kind of pick him up. So can you kind of walk us through a little bit about that and how you guys supported Peter and, your family as you guys transitioned online last spring?
So I think that was probably the biggest initial shock was, we were continuing classes through, I think, the last week of March. I think it was March 12th or so. And we got the call that, it was time to move them home. And so we had to respond pretty quickly and get out there. And that was a little bit of a shock for Peter to pack up his entire room and just the uncertainty of, are we going to be back in a couple weeks, a couple months, next year?
What do I need to take?
Yeah. And so just the triage of just trying to sort everything, take the critical academic things home, leave the things behind. Plus he's involved in peccary and, used to the summer trips. So he's got all of his gear to go out on the digs and so forth. So, we managed to get through that. It was pretty stressful, but nonetheless, we got through it and got him home and got him settled. So, some of the things that Linda outlined into just getting him established at home, starting the courses online, and making the transition. I think that was probably the toughest thing. And, over time, I think he got his routine, he got his space figured out, and Webb adjusted some of the things like the initial Zoom classes. I think we're trying to keep the normal block schedule was long in terms of screen time. And I think they made some quick adjustments on that helped kind of normalize things and get them back to normal. But similar to Linda, I think we struggled with a little bit of focus and motivation and just being unsettled to the normal routine and just trying to adapt to that. But over time, I think he did a really good job of getting back on track, managing his schedule, getting his assignments done, and was very resilient in adapting to the circumstances.
Great.
Well, personally,
Okay.
I was just impressed with how independent he really was and how take charge he was in regards to taking charge of his assignments, finding out what time he had to be online, and interacting and engaging with the teachers and the students. I was kind of amazed at how independent he was in all of that, because prior to going to Webb, I was always kind of involved in all of that process. I felt kind of like a helicopter mom in some instances because I was so involved. But since he's gone to Webb, it's really been for us more hands off, and to see that independence, that growth that has come through, and still come home with that in a pandemic. I was pretty amazed because I thought he was going to lean on us a little bit more, but he really didn't. And so I have to say a lot of the Webb kids were very resilient because I've talked to him in regards to his friends, and they all kind of jumped in and kind of just understood that this was just the next process, and it was just a continuation. You may be home, but it was a continuation of the program. And I think that had a lot to do with the interactions with the teachers and also seeing their fellow students on screen. And I think that brought a lot of the anxiety down tremendously. And of course, we didn't see any anxiety until, of course, the final weeks for test time, which I think
Right.
all the kids experienced because it was just so unique. But I think they kind of rallied around one another. And we saw that Peter and his friends were reaching out and creating little Zoom rooms. And they were even reaching out, like I said, kids overseas were kind of coming into the Zoom room and they were connecting. And some of the seniors who hadn't had a chance to say goodbye to some of the undergrad students came into the Zoom room and they were exchanging just information and just checking in on one another. And that was kind of gratifying to see that the connections were still there, because you sometimes think it's going to fall away a little bit, but to see that they really cared about one another, to me that meant it really meant a lot. And it was really rewarding to be a part of that, to see it. So I'm hoping for big things in the fall, and the kids checking in with one another once again. Somehow they'll figure out a way to stay connected, and I think that's going to mean a lot to them.
All of you guys have given kind of honest and answers. I think that as new families are settling in, they're going to go through their own challenges, and at the same time, they're going to experience successes as well, right? I think you guys touched on growth, independence, resiliency, boundaries, and social emotional needs. And those are kind of all the things that I think go into student wellness and parent wellness as well. So thank you guys again. I could not have asked for more perfect answers. So I always like to end on kind of a fun question. So Linda, I'm going to put you on a spot. If you can use 3 words to describe Webb, what would those 3 words be?
Well, first of all, I would definitely, given what we've just gone through with the pandemic, is supportive. The support that is at Webb is just amazing. Watching our child, as the graphs have said, they've grown a lot just going through what they've gone through in this spring and now going back into the fall. So definitely supportive. Community. I think there's just such an amazing community at Webb that, the kids get together, like the graphs were saying, with the Zoom meetings, the teachers reach out, the advisors reach out, the admissions, counselors, the admissions people reach out. I say that all the time about Webb, that the community there is amazing. And our children, once they're alumni or alumnuses, will just have such a great network. And the other thing is, I definitely would say diversity. In light of all the things that we've gone through, some of the things that I've seen happening since we've been living and what we've been living through between, the pandemic and all the, police officers and all that stuff that's been involved across the nation. I think it affects day students and boarders, equally, basically. I see that Webb is just doing an amazing job trying to incorporate diversity learning and understanding perspectives of other cultures and other races, and just kind of tying it all together into that community. And I think that's just very, very important for our children to learn as they go through high school. So those are the 3 words I'd use. I expanded on them, but
No, great. Thanks for sharing. All right. So John and Alma Marie, kind of what are your 3 words that you would use to describe Webb?
Um, Transformative. Just the time that we spent at Webb, just to see the transformation in our student, the growth, the maturity. It's just been amazing. The ride has been wonderful. So transformative is definitely one I would automatically just off the top just think of. And as Linda said, definitely supportive. Um, but just amazing. What an amazing campus and school with special people. The teachers, the administrators, and the students make it a very special place. I'll let you take the last word.
I would just say it's home. You know,
Yeah.
for as a family, it's a community that we feel at home at, and it's 2,000 miles away.
Yeah.
But when we step on campus, we feel like our son is known, Peter's known there, he's accepted for who he is and what his interests are, and the school knows us as a family. So I feel like it's like visiting family 2,000 miles away when we come on campus. So I would say home and community
Yeah.
are what resonate with me.
Yeah, you feel connected.
Connect.
Mm-hmm.
No, those are wonderful answers and a lot of words that come to my mind when I think about how I would describe Webb. So even though we are starting online, I feel like we are more connected as ever as a community because we have all the technology and the tools that we have. But I also think we just have really deep bonds and friendships amongst, parents, alumni, faculty, staff, and administrators. So thank you guys again for joining me online and zooming in and really kind of, talking to our, new families. And for our new families, please know that we really do mean it when Webb is an amazing community and there's so many layers of support and we cannot wait to welcome you guys and hug you in person when we're able to do so. So thanks for tuning in.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Bye.
Welcome, new families.
Right, welcome.
Hello, Webb families. Thanks for tuning in to another Webb chat for parent orientation. Again, my name is Jennifer Liu. I graduated from Webb in 2005, and I'm the Director of Parent Relations and Special Events. And today I have Jenny Kong joining me today. So I wanted to invite Jenny to talk about kind of some of the challenges, successes, and stories from spring 2020 because she has the really unique perspective of being a current parent, but also an alumni parent. So she's had 3 students at Webb. So welcome, Jenny. I'm going to hand it over to you so you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your students and their interest at Webb.
Thanks, Jen. It's good to be here. I'm Jenny Kong, and I have 3 children. My son, Alexander, is a junior, and I have a daughter, Isabella, who's a junior at Cornell, and my daughter, Elisa, is a recent graduate of Columbia University. And both my daughters attended Webb and graduated from Webb. I've had the wonderful opportunity to be involved at Webb. I'm on the board of the Raymond Elf Museum of Paleontology. I recently served as the affiliates president, and I am the museum liaison of the affiliates.
Great, thanks, Jenny. So I wanted us to kind of go back in time a little bit and talk about kind of, when Webb had to shut down mid-March. It was a big transition for all of us. So how did Xander deal with it? How did you guys what were the challenges that you guys had as a family when that process was beginning?
Well, I have to say that Webb's classes are interactive and very hands-on. And I think that the challenges are that the instructions could be in a classroom and a research lab or on a field trip. And so it's very difficult to replicate that on an online platform. And second, Alexander is very social. So I think he truly missed all of the interactions with his friends.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of a common thread I'm hearing is that, Webb's course offerings pull from so many different things. So when we had to kind of transition to online learning, there were things that we wanted to capture And I'm happy to tell you guys that the faculty have been so hard at work. And I do think that this school year, whether it's hands-on learning experiences or collaboration work, we're excited to see that happen because the faculty are incredibly talented and creative. And we all miss the kids too. We want them to come back on campus. So that kind of missing in-person interaction is, the adults feel it as well. So what are some successes? You know, I think we all are going to, when we come out on the other side, I think gain new skill sets. So I certainly know I've had to step up my tech game. So kind of what were some of the successes that Xander had after kind of he completed the school year last year?
I would have to say is when he decided to run for student government and everything happened online. And so he had to be creative and he had to connect with his friends and peers online and campaign online and deliver his speech online. And so did all the other, students who ran. And I think the students really enjoy the process. And it surprised them, but I think they really enjoy the process. And most importantly, I think that they learn to adapt, to be flexible, and to problem solve.
No, those are great skills to have. And I think those, you kind of carry through on in whether, in university or when you start your career. So kind of, can we now kind of ask you to put on your alumni parent hat and talk a little bit about what's it like having, your daughters at home? How did they deal with the transition? And, how are they, do they still feel connected to the Webb community as alumni?
Oh, so when everything hit March, I think, beginning of March, I had all three children home and it was wonderful, but it was an adjustment because whether studying online or working from home, we were all in our respective places. So we had to just make sure that we checked in, and connected and took breaks and communicated. Otherwise, we'd be all in our rooms or in our spaces, on the computer. But my oldest daughter, Lisa, she still has her Zoom connections with her class. Some like and students that they connect, I think weekly now. So it's so nice that she has that, and so she has a great community of Webb friends that they get together and they do the Zoom calls or or they're communicating all the time.
And then I can.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So like I can certainly relate to that because one of my best friends from Webb, she got tired of delaying her wedding date. So she actually just did a Google Hangout and they did their vows in her backyard. And it was like, we just all logged into Google, Hangout, and we saw each other and she had her wedding and it was lovely. So I think it's so nice to hear that your daughters are still connected to their Webb classmates.
Yeah, it's good to see that. Mm-hmm. But that's great. I think that's a wonderful idea because what do? You adapt and you go with it, right?
Mm-hmm. So, new families, Webb we've been giving them a lot of information and we're excited for them to start the school year. So what advice do you have for new families on how they can support their students?
So I would have to say to encourage students to participate on the online events and activities. I know there's going to be a lot starting September. And I know that student government is working very hard to make sure that the activities that are part of the Webb tradition will still take place. And I would also encourage students to try something new, because Webb is a great place to do that and discover something new. I know that there are a lot of extracurricular activities being offered, such as debate and theater arts, museum research, visual arts, many more. I think I covered all the ones that Alexander is interested in, but there's so many more. And I know that it's a great way to connect and meet, friends and find new interests. And meet teachers and build that relationship with teachers, friends, and kids. And also, I think the activities is not just for freshman class too, right? It just spans from freshman to senior class. So yeah, it's a great, and I think that the social connection is very much needed. So yeah, I would definitely recommend to encourage students to just make sure to take part and participate in all of the activities.
No, that's great. And certainly our student leaders, our deans, and kind of all the campus life, we're geared up to still provide the whole web experience while we're virtual for time module 1. So I always kind of like to end on a fun question. So my last question is, while all your kids were home, did you guys do anything fun together? Were there any kind of special bonding activities?
Well, so my family has we have taken up the hobby of bird watching.
Oh.
So it brings us outdoors, and it's very relaxing and peaceful. But we've filled up all of our trees with different types of bird feeders and different seeds that we've ordered online, and it's been fun to just do these random bird sightings.
That's so cool. That's awesome. I literally was, walking around my apartment complex, and I actually noticed that someone had hung up different bird feeders in the trees that we had. So it kind of, I think it's great to take notice of nature and all that's around us.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Jenny, so much for joining us online, and Webb families. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And we hope that you're enjoying all the parent orientation activities that we've planned for you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And then I will see you online soon. Bye.
Bye, Jen. Thank you.